Hello everyone, it's good to be back again on stage so soon. I'm gonna not do a quick introduction to myself because you already know me, but I'd also like to bring up onto stage my two panelists who will be joining me, MJ and Evelyn, if you guys would come up onto the stage. So we're going to be discussing in our panel, I think it's called Supercharging Blockchain, how Layer 2 tech is taking us to the next level. And I think it's going to be a really, really interesting one, maybe a little bit more technical, but we're going to try and break it down so it's not too much. For those of you that maybe aren't too familiar, we have Layer 1, which is Ethereum, which is kind of focusing a little bit more on security and decentralization, whereas Layer 2 takes it a step further, where we can start actually focusing more on scalability and reducing transaction costs, or increasing efficiency. And our two panelists, I'm actually going to hand over to each of you to do a quick introduction on yourselves and on your background, and then we'll kick it off from there with a bit more on the actual topic. So MJ, if you could please.
Cool. Hi everyone, my name's MJ, and yeah, very interested in Layer 2s. I worked for Polygon, which is one of the big ones, and am currently building on Lisk, which is another one of the Layer 2s. So yeah, really looking forward to jumping in on this conversation.
Nice. Well, I'm so happy to be here. Thank CryptoFest for the opportunity. My name is Evelyn. I am responsible to develop the whole South America market, Africa and Turkish and ChainUp. So I've been doing this role for a few months, and also working deeply in the whole South America market for a while, in blockchain and special. So I'm very thrilled, I'm very happy to be here to talk a bit how we are going to promote the adoption and how Layer 2 can help with it.
Amazing. We're actually really excited to have you here as well. She's all the way from Brazil.
Yeah.
So she's just actually moved here to Cape Town, South Africa. So big welcome to Cape Town in general. We're really happy to have you. MJ, you've been around for a while. So let's actually kick off our topic with an introduction to Layer 2 in general. And maybe I'll direct this one at both of you. So our next two questions are both of you. Let's starting with the basics. What exactly is a Layer 2 solution, and how does it differ from Layer 1?
I mean, there's an analogy that I like to use where you can think of Ethereum as the road network of a city. And then you can think of the Layer 2s as the various subway systems. So Layer 2s tend to be a little bit quicker. You know, if any of you have been to New York or Tokyo, you know that it's quicker to go via the subway than the road network. But of course, the road network can take you to most places in the city, whereas Layer 2s are a little bit limited to where they go off at. And I guess that's one of the little trade-offs. So it's just a nice analogy, I guess, to break it into, is to think of Ethereum as Layer 1, the road network, and then the various Layer 2s as different subway systems underneath that city.
Yeah, good point. With Layer 2, we have the whole possibility to build so many different projects, and it really helps about the scalability, the gas fee costs. So it's pretty much a very important tool to promote adoption as well, to offer a better solution for the end users. So good point to connect.
That was actually even answering a little bit of my next question, was what actual specific problems is Layer 2 tech solving? And like, why are they so crucial for the future of Web3? So why have we felt the need to actually take it further with Layer 2?
Yeah, as we have the first layer, the Layer 1, getting busy and managing different transactions, we get high costs and long time to process everything. So the Layer 2 is just the most important part to offer to the end users a seamless solution. So we can see for different examples, such as Polygon, as you said, a very nice projects that we can, offer for the users in general. So this is, to me, a very big point, and again, you need to touch the main topic. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think a lot of the time when we talk about layer 2s, we talk about the specific projects and the technologies around it as well. So layer 2, for example, we have our ZK rollups, we have our optimistic rollups, and maybe if you guys are you ready for maybe a little bit more of a technical dive into ZK and optimism? Some of you are. Okay, we'll keep it light. We'll keep it not too technical then. So then leading into maybe a little bit more about the layer 2 technologies. MJ, can you tell us a little bit more about ZK rollups and optimistic rollups? What is the difference? Which of these approaches do you think is the best approach, and kind of like how are they doing in the current climate?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so essentially, as the name suggests, rollups, what happens with your layer 2s is you have all your transactions, and then you roll them up and you submit it to the layer 1. So all your layer 2 chains are anchored to the layer 1, and of course that's where they're getting that security. Now you have the ZK, known as the zero knowledge proofs, and this is quite a lot of complicated mathematics. They've got snarks and all these crazy things. But essentially what you're doing with these zero knowledge proofs is that you're proving something without giving up any knowledge. So if I was to give a bit of an example, if you came to me with 2 Pokemon cards and you said, which one's real, which one's fake? And I said to you, that's the fake one. And then you put it behind your back, and you know whether you changed it or not, and you show it to me again. If I'm able to say, that's the fake one, and you actually swapped it to that, you can say, oh, okay, this guy, maybe he's just 50%, he's just a little bit lucky that he was able to authenticate the card again. But we play this game multiple times, and what's happening is your confidence in my ability to know that I can authenticate the Pokemon card will grow in time. So what's happening with your zero knowledge proofs is you have to do thousands of transactions if you want to be very, very confident that this is actually, the proof that we want to commit. So what's happening here is there's a lot of computational processes, and this is great if you've got nice, simple transactions like sending an NFT from this person to another person. A complicated app like Uniswap where there's liquidity pools, it gets a little bit trickier. But essentially, when you come and you roll up, you have that mathematical proof that, okay, this is the truth. Optimism said, we're going to pretend everyone was honest. Roll it up, put it in. And then there's a 7-day period where people can say, wait, I think there was fraud. And then you go back and you say, okay, did this actually happen? And that's where that name optimistic comes from, is that you're being optimistic that everyone is going to play by the rules. And of course, there's 2 different philosophies regarding which one is better. Maybe I'm a pessimist in the sense that I prefer the zero knowledge, but optimism does have its place, especially when the dApps get a little bit complicated, like Uniswap.
And are you seeing any trade-offs with these solutions in terms of speed, security, or cost?
So speed with optimism will be very, very quick because, of course, you're not playing those mathematical games to determine confidence. But if you ever want to get back into your layer 1, you have to wait 7 days to make sure that no one's put in that fraud claim. So optimism is very, very quick while it's on-chain, but as soon as you move back to your layer 1, and I'll give an example why you want to do this. Let's say you've got an NFT on the layer 1, but you want to do some high-frequency trading with it. You don't want to keep paying that high gas fee on Ethereum. So you'll move it into a layer 2. You can do the high transfer frequency, and then maybe you want to bring it back to your layer 1 because there's a dApp that it needs it for. With optimism, you're going to have to wait 7 days before you can get it back into your layer 1. So it will be very quick until you do that bridge back.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for that answer. And the next question I actually wanted to direct at Evelyn. If you could share some examples on decentralized apps that are currently thriving because of layer 2 solutions. So maybe some examples of layer 2s or applications that are actually using the technology at the moment to give our audience a bit of understanding in the real world.
We have a good example, and I will also use this opportunity to connect a bit about my background there in South America. I think it's nice to share with you guys how we are developing this. But I think the main one we can talk about the Lightning when we connect with the Bitcoin. So it's really helpful to process payment transactions in general, getting a very better gas fee, like lower one. The ZK part you said, it's very, very a good example. And then I need to say about the CBDC we are developing there in Brazil. So we call our CBDC as Drex. And I think that the most delicate point there for the central bank is about the privacy. So we have like different financial products. We have so many good projects running there, but how we gonna manage the identity of the users, and how the institution, the traditional financial institution is gonna be satisfied and compliant about it. So ZK, it's something that they are really deep in dive, and it's being a solution there. So yeah, the CBDC and all products is gonna be ready the next year, but ZK it's something really helpful. And also, I think Polygon, again, it's a good example when we think about the cross-chain. So it's an important way to connect all different projects into Ethereum. So
and talking with the real world, actually, because sometimes I feel like crypto is just in its own little bubble, and often that integration into the real world and adoption does become an incredibly big challenge, especially in our space, and especially with technology that starts getting deeper than just normal layer 1 solutions. So I wanted to move more into challenges next with you guys, and if you could maybe, from your own perspective or your own experience, what have been what will be some of the biggest challenges that layer 2 adoption will face? Both on the developer side and on the user side. So maybe MJ, I don't know if you can talk more on the developer side, and you can tell us more about the user side, or you guys can just answer whichever you feel most comfortable with.
Cool. I mean, just coming back to the whole city metaphor, if I'm going from my house to my workplace and there's a subway line, fantastic. I can be on this layer 2 and just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. A lot cheaper than calling an Uber every time you're going to work and back. But if my friend invites me to a cool party, or I maybe want to go to a museum once in a while, and the subway line does not connect there, I'm going to have to, I'm going to have issues. I'm going to have to go back to your layer 1. And that is one of the things that we find, not only from a user's point of view, but also from a developer. So busy building now on Lisk, and you don't have as many toolkits as you might have on layer 1. And this is something all your layer 2s kind of struggle from, is that everything that you have on layer 1 that is accessible by road isn't necessarily going to be accessible via the subway. So that's one thing where it can get a little bit tricky. And then from a user's point of view, you have the situation where, let's say I'm building now again on Lisk, I have to tell my users, no, you need to get your Ethereum, and you need to bridge your Ethereum onto this layer 2, and it's another step for them to go. Or when we were at Polygon, people had to get Matic, and they first had to get their Ethereum, bridge their Ethereum over to the thing, then they had to change it, and sometimes you need the Matic to pay for the gas fee to first get it on board. And it kind of reminds me of like the first time I was in one of these big cities, using their subway system. It's, everyone knows how to use an Uber, or you got the app, you call it, you go where you need to go. On the subway, it was station numbers, then I needed a little ticket, then there was this, then there was that. So using layer 2s, especially now we're in its infancy, that user experience is complicated. And I think that's something that we shouldn't take for granted, especially those of us who've been in the space for a long time, where it's like, oh, layer 2, I changed my MetaMask, I'm good, let's go. For a new user, it's like, oh, I need to put the ETH there, I need to change my network on whatever wallet I'm doing. There's all these additional steps that, like I say, can make it a little bit trickier.
Yeah, it's quite complicated, and it can be quite intimidating. Do you know if any of these layer 2s are actually doing anything to increase accessibility to new users, or if they were working on anything to make it maybe a little bit more accessible to the broader community?
There was, so Coinbase has kind of got their own layer 2 out now called Base.
Oh yeah, and that's quite easy to use actually. I think you just did a hackathon with Base, didn't you?
Yes. I was on the hackathon, and one of the nice things with Base is this idea that, let's say you build up your application and you come to execute a transaction, Base will put up an option up front there to say, hey, do you want to pay with us with your credit card? And if you've got a Coinbase account that's got your credit card details or something like that, suddenly it becomes a little bit easier. So, and this is what's so great about there being so many of these different layer 2s, is there's these different cultures that are almost emerging, where Base is saying, we're going to focus on user experience. Whereas someone like, let's say, Polygon, they might say, we want to focus on the big corporates like, Starbucks and these other things that they've been doing. And then another one might say, okay, we're going to just try to focus on being the cheapest. And again, you can think of it as a subway. Maybe one subway system's just looking at the financial system. Another one is focusing on security and making the carriages really pretty and nice and comfortable. Another one might just be focused on speed and price. So I think that's why it's great that there are lots of different layer 2s. They're not necessarily competing with each other, they're complementing each other.
Yeah. I still feel like it's so deep into the space, and maybe I want to address my next question at Evelyn. What will it take for layer 2s to actually start reaching mainstream adoption of any sort? Do you think that there's anything that they could be doing more actively? And yeah, what do you think they should be doing to drive that next wave of adoption in the ecosystem?
Yeah, I think it's very connected to the previous point, because when we have all of those opportunities, all of those options to build new projects, it's important I'm saying from my position, when I get an opportunity to develop a project as a business developer, I need to understand exactly which kind of project we are going to do. Am I tokenizing luxury product? So maybe I need to take a look about the cheap safety environment to keep it safe, or we are going to develop something very massive and then maybe a lower price as a gas fee. It's going to be better. So I think the next step, it's literally to promote adoptions, to pay attention about the user experience. This is very important to get the mainstream, and use the whole opportunities from developers, because they are very focused on building something efficient. So it's just a co-work team here. Like, we need to use our force, but we are getting better, 100%. And especially, looking for real-world assets. All of these layer 2 is so important to bring more efficient for the process. So, yeah, I think it's just keep forward, moving forward.
I mean, we're actually starting to, at least maybe it's just because I'm in the space, it probably is, but we're starting to see more and more like layer 2 solutions actually popping up as more common names in the circles that we've kind of been in. So I mean, you mentioned one now, Base, but you also have been working with Lisk, and I think you were working on a project that's gone quite far in the Lisk Accelerator now. Do you want to maybe tell us about kind of like that as well, and how that builds into the space?
So Lisk is an interesting one because, I mean, back in the day, I got into the space back in 2014, and Lisk was positioning itself as a blockchain that you could build with JavaScript. And people were like, that's cool, but it never really went mainstream. So Lisk kind of decided to do a pivot where they were this like layer 1, and they said, well, hold on, we've got all of these smart people working with us, we understand blockchain, why don't we have a go at building a layer 2? And so they built a layer 2, and you could convert all your layer 1 Lisk tokens into this layer 2 one. And what they found is that they've created this amazing, layer 2, but there aren't that many developers or projects on it. So what they've done is they've said, we've also got this war chest of all this money that we have, from our token. Why don't we offer grants out to developers? So myself and a whole bunch of others. In fact, I think there's some of us also here, because I was posting on the Discord who's going to be here from the Lisk Incubator. And what's great is that, I mean, if any of you are young or upcoming developers, or even you want to just have a go at the space, you can apply for a grant. And what Lisk will then do is they will facilitate you through the process of developing and building a business on a blockchain, and they will provide finances. And Lisk is quite generous at the moment, with the grants being of $100,000. So you come to Lisk, you say, hey, I'm going to build this project, and they'll say, okay, cool, here's $100,000. Of course, when you read the contract, it's like, don't build this on any of the other layer 2s. So we do see a little bit of the competition there, where they will make these grants available for that exclusivity. And if you were to go to some of the other layer 2s, especially when they're starting out, they will have these grant systems. So when I was working at Polygon, and I would go to some of these crypto conferences around the world, I was very popular with everyone because they knew Polygon was, handing out cash left, right, and center. So it was great for me because everyone wanted to be my friend. But Polygon then realized that, okay, gosh, when you just give people money, they take it and they run away. So that's why what Lisk is doing now is they're teaming up with venture capitalists like CV Labs and actually going you through a process. So you don't just get your $100,000 up front. You go through a process where they blend you into the system, and also that way you start learning about it. So on Monday, I'm going to be talking to the Lisk developers as part of that course to actually figure out if I've got any problems when it comes to developing. And they really are nurturing and holding your hand. And again, it's that whole idea of, think of a subway saying, we've got a station here, let's incentivize, let's pay Starbucks to set up something here, or let's give subsidies to other businesses who build around our subway stations so that more people then want to come and work on Lisk. Let's say one of us creates a killer app, everyone moves on to Lisk, and Lisk then is getting that traction that they want.
Interesting.
So that's a little bit of
the community and adoption.
Yeah, so you do see a little bit of competition between the two, but as a developer, like I say, I've just built on Base and I'm building now on Lisk. Because they're both on Ethereum, you change one line in your code where you change it from Lisk to Base, and everything works as perfect. So from a developing point of view, very, very easy.
So convenient. I want to do a quick time check because I have no idea what time we started, so I just want to know how much time we have. 5 more minutes? Okay. 4 more minutes. Okay, so I was going to go into security and decentralization, a little bit about the trilemma, but I feel like we talk about that a lot, so if you want to talk about the trilemma with us later, you can talk about it with us. But maybe let's just close over into the future of Layer 2 and maybe some cross-chain compatibility, and then maybe just your closing thoughts. So where do you think Layer 2 is heading to? Are you optimistic? And yeah, keen to hear both your closing statements just on our topic.
Okay, cool. Do you want to? So the way I kind of see it is that Layer 2s and maybe even Layer 3s, which would be another layer built, let's say, on the Polygon chain or another layer built on the Lisk chain, I think that is definitely going to be the future. Of course, this is a debate in the space. Not everyone holds this view, but the kind of idea is that most of the transactions, most of the things will happen on the Layer 2s, and only in very acute cases will we, as say the user, go back to Layer 1 in order to do something. And I might use a certain subway to go from home to work, and I might use a different subway to go from, let's say, home to my favorite grocery shop. And 99% of my traveling will be done using Layer 2s. And it's only, like I say, on that very, very rare occasion where someone's created a strange new pop-up gallery, Banksy's in town or something, that you might visit, call up an Uber and go there. So I'm thinking that Layer 2s are going to be the future, and especially the way we're seeing what's happening with Base and that user friendliness that they are targeting, because that, like I say, is the big hurdle. Once that is addressed, we will start all using Layer 2s, and especially with these other things like account abstraction, we might not even realize that we're doing it. So in 10 years' time, almost all of your interaction on the internet will be through Layer 2s. We might just not realize it or be that aware of it. So I think Layer 2s are definitely a future aspect of the space. But again, like I said, I know that this is a big debate, and there are some other people who are like, ooh, Layer 2s, they're centralized, they're scams, they get rich quick things, we need to stick to the main chains, or the main chains are going to evolve on their own and get faster and faster and better. So coming back to our analogy, and I'll maybe end off with this, is think of cars becoming smarter, like Tesla, smart driving ones that can maybe fly, and then as soon as that has been perfected, we no longer need to go into the subway. So there are these two futures that kind of lay out before us, and I think that's what makes this space fun, is that you've got some people developing in the one direction and others developing in the other.
Totally. And especially, I love it, the topic you said about the account abstraction, because to me this is 100% the future. And we definitely, when we use the HTTPS, we don't announce, we don't need to say, oh, I'm going to manage all of these steps, but to me, account abstraction, imagine you just do everything using a social login or, managing gas feeds. This is just the future, and we can have it through Layer 2. So, yeah, let's go for the future. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. MJ, Evelyn, thank you so much for being part of this panel with us. I hope you guys feel a little bit more in the know now about layer 2 solutions. Did you know that there's also layer 3 solutions? But we'll touch on that maybe in the next Crypto Fest. It's a little bit too deep a dive for now. But thank you all for having us. Thank you for your time, and we'll catch you next year.
Amazing, guys.